good morning, and welcome to another weekly reading vlog. Let's be honest, I read a lot. So we're gonna be talking about a lot of books, starting with The Sweetest Remedy, which I started this morning and just finished. I do have some clips, so I guess let's roll them. Okay. I see you. Yes, this book surprisingly made me pretty emotional, and it's funny because it's romance. I've heard about the romance. There's a big romance element to it. I could care less about the romance in this book. I loved this book for literally everything else. In all honesty, the romance was kind of meh. In the beginning, I was here for it. I was all like, oh yes, like the first encounter. Yes. And then literally everything after that, I was like, oh really? Already? Like disappointing. But everything else was so engaging, so heartwarming, so gripping. I was just so involved. I didn't realize that this would be a story of grief and family and self-acceptance and learning and just all of that. It was such a beautiful story, and I really enjoyed it. Like, this was a good time, even though I didn't care for the romance after their first meeting. And don't get me wrong, I like the characters, I just didn't feel anything. It just felt forced. I'm like, not gonna lie, it just wasn't doing it for me, but everything else, 100%. So this is a great way for us to start off the week. Okay, hi, update. I'm about to join my book club for Razor Blade Tears. It's my first time doing something like this. I'm pretty excited because I've been dying for like a real book club situation where I can like talk to people about books. So I hope this goes well, like fingers crossed. I'm probably not going to talk too much because I technically read this a couple years ago, but I wanted to give it a shot. I'm so excited, and I'm really excited for some of the next books that are planned. So if this goes well, like, I'm gonna buy the next book so that I can have everything that I need in time for the actual reading. And we do them in chunks, so I would be reading along. We'll see how that goes, but I'm so excited. Okay, so I just finished the book club, and I loved it. It was so much fun. It's an hour and a half long. We meet every Saturday. I'm for sure gonna continue doing it. We were talking about the first 80 pages of Razor Blade Tears. We'll be reading the next one for next week. I realized I read this back when this came out. This came out in 2021. So I either read it sometime in 2021 or early 2022, right? Like shortly after this released. And so it's been a while. So they were talking about things. I was like, oh man, I forgot all about that. Like, I was worried that I would be like spoiling things, because I do remember the general premise. I do remember the big things that happen. Mostly I remember vibes. So this is a perfect time for me to reread this book. That wasn't the plan. I think I'm gonna go ahead and finish reading this whole first section, and basically I'll get halfway through this because yeah, I want to make progress, and I have not been reading much this week. Excuse me, ma'am. That is not a bed. That is my red shelf. What are you doing? What are you doing, cutie pie? Big yawns. Okay, I have read Murder in Westminster, and I don't really have too much to say about this. This is about a woman who has sight, possibly, but doesn't really rely on it or focus too much on it. And one day she comes home from a pro-abolitionist meeting. She finds her neighbor's wife dead on her property, and she knows that she's going to be a suspect, and she can't really talk about it because of where she's been. There's different twists and turns and things like that. I enjoyed it. I plan on continuing this series, but I wasn't as invested as I would like. Like, it was a good audiobook to listen to while I was doing other things. So yeah, fun time, not amazing. I can now put this over here. Then the next book I ended up reading was When the Vibe is Right. And this is a YA romance that takes place in Trinidad. I listened to the audiobook, loved the accents, and the general story was actually really cute. It is YA, but I did enjoy it, and it did have the typical miscommunication trope where one character thinks the other one hates them, and I don't know, it was more understandable. If I'm being being honest. Like, they just had a very combative relationship, but they end up working together. Things happen. It was cute. I enjoyed the whole thing, even though elements of it normally isn't my vibe. I enjoyed it. I don't know what to tell you. It was a fun time. I think I really enjoyed the location, the characters, the general vibe. If you don't like the characters, I think it'll be a struggle because I kind of find both of them can be a little bit annoying, but it was fun. It didn't bother me. I enjoyed it. Another book done. Now I just need to figure out what we're gonna read next. But since it's already late, I will probably continue reading Razor Blade Tears, which is the book that I'm reading for the book club I am part of, and won't be finishing this video. Hi, so I have started modern Sudanese poetry, which is one of my other picks for Blackathon this month, and I didn't get very far. I am very interested to continue. I ended up starting with the introduction that gives you some background into the culture, some of the poets. It talks about the process of translating things and stuff of that nature. The poems themselves, the ones that I've read so far, which has only been like 3, have been very accessible and I do like them, although some of the topics that I've seen so far have been a little bit on the misogynistic side. So I'm interested in seeing how that progresses throughout, like if there is more diversity within what is included, but I'll let you know when I finish that in the future. Okay, and then on a side note, I have been a little down in the dumps, if I'm being honest with you, when it comes to my vlog videos. They don't perform very well. That's very normal. This is something that happens to a lot of us booktubers, but it is really sad because it's a lot of work that I put into these. And so I've been debating and thinking about how I'm going to handle that in the future. I am thinking instead of trying to keep with the weekly vlogs. I might try and do more themed vlogs and not have them weekly, but I'll still be posting weekly, but it'll be other things and this, that, and the other. So I will say, when I was feeling this way, I was like, maybe my vlogs aren't good enough. Like maybe my thumbnails all suck and the titles are bad and the content's bad. Like maybe that's why they're doing bad. But then I went ahead and I looked at some videos, like last year's Romanceathon video that I did during February. I really am proud of how that video turned out. And I think more people should watch it. Or even my really old studio vlogs back when I was still an art channel. I ended up watching one of those and was like, oh my God, his like down memory lane. This one was pretty engaging and interesting for being something that's like so out of the realm of what I do now, but also still just has the vibes. There's not reading in those, but it was still just like fun, and it was pretty short. So if you're interested in seeing baby me, I recommend checking that out. But yeah, I realize that I can improve my videos. Obviously, I can improve thumbnails and titles, but my videos aren't as bad as I feel like they are sometimes. So I'm just trying to give myself a little bit of grace. This vlog has not been going as planned, not gonna lie. Not reading a lot, not filming a lot. I was doing a bunch of stuff behind the scenes, prepping the TBR jar, which I'm gonna have a separate video for that, so I don't have that to put in here. And then I also ended up doing some stuff for the Patreon and the besties, but like pretty light on things, if I'm being honest. I did start reading another book, Black Leopard Red Wolf by Marlon James, because after purchasing it, I did hear some questionable things. The trigger warnings list for this is extensive, and I know a lot of people hate it. Like, it's, people either love this book or hate this book. And so I went in here knowing that it's dark, it's gross, it's gritty, it has all of these just like horrible trigger warning things in it. It pushes the limit. A lot of those trigger warnings involve kids, some animal, like there's just a lot. And so I was scared, but I started it and I was all like, yo, this writing is surprisingly poetic in a way that I find to be very beautiful, especially in contrast to the god-awful topics and the gross way it describes things. Like, it's dark. This is not for everybody. A lot of people won't like this, but I really enjoy it. You can see videos of Marlon James reading some bits from the book, so if you're interested in hearing that, I do recommend. Right off the bat, it gets gross and inappropriate, and I don't want to be demonetized. Read at your own risk. There are several sections, and in like one sitting, I read 100 pages out of this 600-page book, got through the first section. I almost want to say I love it, but I'm only 1/6 through the book. So that could change. I haven't gotten to the horrific things being on page yet. And I know that some of the things, like some of the trigger warnings happen on page, and I don't know if I'm gonna be able to handle it. So I might be okay right now and then change my mind later, but I am feeling optimistic. There's no turning back on this book. I annotated the crap out of the first section. I'm using a whole tabbing code system. I have things for possible plot moments, which I have for every book that I annotate. Then I have horrible stuff is in red/pink. There's a lot of that. This is a epic fantasy book that takes place in Africa, and that has a lot of like African folk tales and mythology woven into this really dark, gritty story. It's a lot. I'm for sure not gonna finish this, but I did figure I would give you a little bit of an update, a sneak peek into the next video. I'm going to be utilizing my new TBR jars to choose my reads for next week, and I'll be also using that as a way to get more book tokens, because I have kind of spent all of mine already and I want some more. And so yeah, stay tuned for that. This was a really short one. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, thumbs up, subscribe. Books are linked down below as usual. Include some sort of animal emoji, like a snake or a cat, a wolf. I don't know. I can't think of what animal emojis there are, but include that down below if you made it this far. Be sure to check out some of my older videos. I am really proud of a lot of the videos I've done in the past, so please check them out, and I will catch you in the next video. Until then, bye!